Here we go. Hello, D-Gens. Welcome to Degenerate Takes Happy Hour Sports Talk. I, of course, am the brofict one, AJ. Happy Friday, July 25th, 2025. Hope you've had a good week. Hope you're ready for a good weekend because it has been a busy week with NFL training camp getting started. A lot of news from last weekend and college, media days going wild on you, brother. Starting off, RIP to the legend Hulk Hogan. May not have been the best guy out there, but an absolute legend in the wrestling industry. Also, thoughts and prayers to Ozzy Osbourne's family going through the loss of him. But shout out to them. And thanks for giving us the best, both absolute legends. So anyway, with all that being said, before we go any further, do just want to take a moment, shout out to our 534 incredible followers here on Rumble, everyone watching here, YouTube, and X. Y'all are the best. If you like what we're cooking, please hit those like buttons, hit the follow buttons. Does help us out a lot more than you know. But let's go ahead and dive on into this. As first thing I do want to start with is a very interesting move that may be the lifeline and the lifesaver that Fox needs in order to, I guess, compete with ESPN right now. But the whole sports media landscape is a mess. We'll get into that. As Fox Sports and Barstool have announced a media rights deal where Barstool will be teaming up with Fox Sports. So what does this look like? Dave Portnoy will be a part of their big noon kickoff. And so he will be traveling along with the show. And then there will be a morning Barstool produced show that will be on FS1 starting in the near future. Excuse me. Hey, Will, how you doing, bud? I'm doing good. I'm doing good, man. Nice to see you. Football season's coming around. I'm getting stoked, brother. I'm gonna have to get on those Sunday shows again. Those are fun. Get 3 years now, right? It would be 3 years now. We got to do it. We got to run it back, brother. But I mean, it's an interesting move. It's an interesting move because I mean, they went through the whole, I guess, mass exodus of talent where they just laid off, all of their morning shows and all their contributors and everything like that. And I mean, didn't blame them for that. I don't think anyone blamed them for that. I mean, I can't remember the last time having a conversation with someone and hearing them seriously said, well, I heard on FS1, on Speak or Now or whatever the hell the shows were called. It was a disaster, and no one really respected the contributors. No one liked any of the contributors, especially when the Joy Taylor news came out and everything like that, and just the mess that was Fox Sports. And it was just right in front of our eyes. Hearing all of it, it was crazy. Might change it to a Friday night show. Ooh, if you're down for Friday night, bro, I would not hate sleeping in on Sundays. I'm not gonna lie. But where am I trying to get here? Oh, they had to do something. And one move that I thought they might do, which would have been very interesting, was going to, a lot of the guys like me, like Game On. Shout out to that show, doing incredible right now over here on Rumble, really holding Rumble Sports down. But going that route and going with the online influencer type sports personalities and then putting them on a show and seeing if that works, just a different mindset, different way of thinking and how we talk about sports and all of that. It's much different than, what they do in these morning shows, slot A, slot B, slot C. And they're trying to go with the McAfee model that ESPN took, rolled the dice on, and clearly they're liking what they're seeing. And that's why they trotted him out for the home run derby. And I'm a fan of McAfee. I listen to McAfee all the time. He is getting close to Stephen A. Smith territory where he's just, bro is just, what's the word I'm looking for? Oversaturated, I guess. We're oversaturated with Stephen A. Smith. We're going to be oversaturated with McAfee before we know it, but it's an interesting move. And I think ESPN was quicker to do, go with a McAfee, go with an online guy that didn't follow the traditional media method. And not only because it was working and because he did great numbers, but because he's not nearly as polarizing of a figure as Dave Portnoy is. Love him, hate him, respect him, it doesn't matter. He brings a certain, just a certain thing about him. And yes, there's been lawsuits, there's been allegations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, he brings that with him, whether you like it or not. And so Fox Sports, really, I hate to say it this way because I'm a Barstool guy too. I love the Barstool content. But it feels a little bit like a last second Hail Mary. It really does, because I have not looked at Fox Sports 1's numbers in a while. Obviously, Colin Cowherd somehow still does numbers, which that should be studied in schools, is how the hell Colin Cowherd has stayed relevant through these years with his takes. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. I do think it will pop numbers. I think it is a nice counterpunch for the big noon kickoff and College Game Day. Do I think it will get nearly as much of, a bump as they're thinking? Probably not. I think College Game Day seems to be, just that's the institution. You know what I mean? That is what you go to. That is what you do on Saturday mornings when you're waiting for kickoff, is you're watching College Game Day. And of course, us here on Rumble giving us, your best picks and everything like that. But that's what you do, and that's the institution. And so don't get me wrong, I respect the fact that Fox Sports is trying to get in there because that's a big market with a lot of eyeballs. And yeah, people have got to be getting sick of McAfee. Not the best idea, though, to counterpunch with Portnoy. You get what I'm saying? I get it. There are two separate fan bases, and the Portnoy, those guys that really ride or die for Dave are going to be watching, and they're going to be that numbers bump, that consistent numbers bump they've been looking for. It'll be interesting. The last time Barstool tried to get on airwaves and everything over with ESPN, that show got canceled before the first show even aired. And so how long this lasts, how will it go? I'm fascinated with it. Will I actually tune in? Yeah, I might go double box, you know what I mean, with big noon kickoff and College Game Day. The fuck? Anyway, but congratulations to Portnoy, congratulations to Barstool and everyone there. Hardworking, most of them, some of them, hardworking group of people there, and they put out really good stuff. And so I'm interested to see what this daily show is going to look like. I'm interested to see Portnoy on big noon kickoff. And so, because he's just going to troll everyone about Michigan the entire time. And I think that's what I'm most excited about, is he's just going to troll the entire time. And that will be fun. I'm going to admit, that would be a lot of fun. All right. Staying in the media rights, we're just going to stick here for a moment because crazy shit's going on. But ESPN, NFL Network, looking to be one now, as ESPN is looking to buy the NFL Network and Red Zone, from the NFL. In return, the NFL does obtain a 10% stake in ESPN moving forward, which makes sense considering they already work extremely closely together. And, ESPN, God bless them, they've been doing their damnedest to try to get more airtime, try to get more games, try to get better games. And the ultimate trump card is you're going to have to pay us for Red Zone. That's the media rights deal you want right there. You want Red Zone. You want 7 hours of commercial-free football. That's what you want. And so shout out to ESPN for getting that. I really hope I just hope this new ESPN all sports app or whatever the hell it is actually worth half a damn and is somewhat of a better interface and can actually fucking run, unlike ESPN Plus. That would be fantastic. That would be fantastic. Do I have a lot of hope that it's going to be like that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And so I'm going to stick with my Sunday ticket and just having every TV imaginable in my living room over trying to get ESPN to work on a Sunday morning, because that's the Lord's Day. And I don't want to get that upset with a stupid TV app on Sunday mornings. But shout out to ESPN. Shout out to NFL Network. That does seem to be a done deal in the works of being closed. So we probably will get that before the season, most definitely. Staying in NFL, as training camp did also kick off this week. A lot going on, and a lot going on with the same players that you would understand it's going on with. Terry McLaurin is in camp, but he is sitting out. He is not at camp. That's Kyron Williams, who is at camp but is holding in. Terry McLaurin not showing up to camp. wants a new contract. Trey Hendrickson, same deal. He is actually just out of the state, and it's fascinating. And it really blows my mind. And the fact that I guess it's just that we're so close to the season, and I get that this happens all the time. Like, I'm not shocked that this whole Micah Parsons thing is taking forever and a half to get done, but that's just the way the Cowboys operate. And Jerry Jones's comments earlier this week, first of all, somebody needs to take away the microphone. Let's go ahead and start there. Someone needs to take the microphone away from Jerry. It's time, but listen, go ahead and keep doing your radio spots you'll love and everything like that. But and that'll still get talked about. You don't need to go national media. You're Jerry Jones. Anything you say anywhere is going to get reported. There is no need, though, I guess he's got to stop being GM then, and that's never going to happen. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy, but I am just to the point where we just got to get these done. And it's with players that, they haven't had issues. They haven't been nuisances. They haven't, they've been solid guys, and Terry McLaurin, is he demanding a lot of money? Yes. Did he just have his first really good season last year? Absolutely. But everyone saw the potential for years. You were just in a bad ownership. He was in a spot where he was bad ownership and not the best quarterbacks to back him up. So now pay him. Same with Trey Hendrickson. It's not his fault that defense sucks. It's not. It's because you pull shit like this. He's not been signed. Shamar Stewart still hasn't been signed. We wonder why the Bengals are going to be, another bottom feeder team for years and years to come. It's because ownership is stuck up on this. You have paid everybody on the offensive side of the football. There is more money available. We all know there's more money. There is cap gymnastics. Just get the right people in position to make these decisions and execute on them. And that's why, but again, we're talking about the teams that this makes sense that it's happening to. The Bengals, the Commanders, and I'll cut the Commanders a little bit of slack, I guess, because it's only this ownership group's second year. Yeah, second year. And, in power. And they've made good decisions so far, but here we are, dragging feet. And who knows if we're talking, just cents that we're fighting over at this point, or guarantees, minimums, whatever. It's just a headache, and it's just noise. And I get it. It's early in the season. Anything that happens at a training camp is going to get talked about, or anything that's happening with a team is going to get talked about. The biggest news yesterday. The biggest news yesterday was that Justin Fields dislocated his toe and was carted off. Oh my God. It was posted all over Twitter. Everyone had take after take after take about what this means, how long he'll possibly be out, yada, yada, yada. And then he was back practicing today. You would have thought that they saw his leg detached from his body and he was getting carted back. We're in that part of the year, but still. It's the business of it, but hey, we gotta just keep it moving. Keep it moving. Some announcements coming out of training camp from teams. Brian Dable has announced that Russell Wilson will be the starter going into the season for your New York Football Giants, putting Jameis Winston and Jackson Dart on the bench. But let's not forget, I do believe by New Jersey and New York law, they are required to keep Tommy DeVito as their third string quarterback. So one of them's got to go, and I do think it will be Jameis Winston. Noah and I did talk about this a little bit on Monday or Tuesday, but Jameis is more than likely going to be on a different NFL team starting this next season. And that's good for him, and that's good for whatever team picks him up. Are we looking at maybe a Saints quarterback room that doesn't have a lot of experience? When your most experienced guy in there is Spencer Rattler, and you got Shuck that's going to be starting for you more than likely, unless Spencer Rattler has a really incredible camp, which I don't think is going to happen, but we haven't heard shit out of that camp, except Jimmy Graham retiring. Shout out to him. But we'll see. we'll see. There's weapons on this Giants team. This isn't a bad Giants team. I think Cam Scadaboo is going to be a nice breath of fresh air for Russell Wilson to actually have a running back. No disrespect to Najee Harris, but a little disrespect there. It'll be interesting. The Giants are still a mess. Yes, that offense is going to improve slightly, but that defense is still not much to write home about. Yeah, you're going to have Abdul Carter and Sexy Dexy on that line, but you still got a secondary to worry about, and they don't have the easiest cupcake schedule in the world. So it'll be interesting to see what the Giants do and how they do. I'm not expecting a lot of big things out of them by any means necessary, but I do think they'll settle in. They're going to be a mediocre team. Yeah, mediocre sounds about right. So shout out to the Giants. Shout out to Brian Daboll and Russell Wilson being a starter yet again in the NFL. Staying in quarterback news, because that's always a big thing. It was announced that Joe Burrow will be playing in more preseason games and taking more snaps in the preseason coming up. This, coming after the last couple of years where the Bengals in general have pretty much been auto bet to lose the first 4 weeks of the season until they wake up and realize they're playing football. And so they're thinking it's because, well, he didn't have enough reps in the preseason. No, that is revisionist history. I'm not a fan of this. I'm not. The reason they got off slow was because Joe Burrow is consistently coming off injury and missed most of training camp. If he can stay healthy through training camp, it's a completely different story. Does he start off as slow? Oh, maybe. Who knows? That defense is still an absolute wreck for the Cincinnati Bengals. Especially now that we're looking at maybe not having Shamar Stewart, not having Trey Hendricks. It's going to be bad. Not only that, but they still don't really have an offensive line. And so the issue isn't necessarily Joe Burrow. It is everything around him, which we've been saying since their Super Bowl run. And it's frustrating as all get out, because I hate to say it like this, but Joe Burrow shouldn't be punished for what's going on. And that's kind of what's going on here. And, a guy that has an injury rap sheet, pretty long, why would you take that risk? It's a preseason game, because then you're going to look dumb as shit if he gets injured. If he can stay healthy through camp, fine. You want to put him in for a drive or two, go for it. I do not think you need multiple games out of your stallion in order to get this done. I do not like it. I don't like it. We spoke about Colin Cowherd earlier, and again, we're just at that time of the year. And it's fine that we're at that time of the year, but we're just at that time of this year. So let's remember to take everything with a grain of salt, because the smallest rice will be the biggest story in this. And it's crazy. And I think where Cowherd was trying to go here was just trying to get the clicks, trying to get the views, because he comes out and says, from a very reliable source, of course, that the Rams have a succession plan for Matthew Stafford. And that succession plan is no one else but Arch Manning. Very interesting story, Cowherd, because hours before Cowherd comes out here with this one, a different story was released that, hey, not only that, but Nick Saban might be getting back into coaching and the NFL level with who else but the Cleveland Browns, and drafting Arch Manning next year. I'm not even going to comment on any of this. I just want it known that it was said that this stuff was said. And I think it's stupid as shit. But yeah, that sounds like a great plan for the Rams. So what, they're just going to say F them picks again and trade up? Is that what's going to happen here? Trade Matthew Stafford, all first round picks, and Arch Manning? And then you get your first round pick? Is that what's going to happen there? Not to mention the fact that we literally haven't even had our first preseason snap yet. Maybe the Rams suck this year. Who knows? But they're probably not going to suck, so they're not going to have a good draft positioning. And then What, are they going to give up that haul when they've been drafting so well already? I don't know, man. It doesn't make sense. And that's one thing I will say I love about Colin Cowherd. It's being able to listen to him and being like, that just makes absolutely no sense what you're saying or how you're proposing that, Cowherd. It makes no sense. So shout out to Colin Cowherd. Always good for a laugh. Appreciate him. Last thing kind of in the NFL, college football NFL world, UNC apparently is going to be having a lot of games on ESPN, ESPN2, ABC, as they are trying to recreate essentially the Dion effect with Bill Belichick. And so season tickets have already sold out. First single game tickets have sold out. I mean, yeah, everyone's very curious to see how this all works with Bill Belichick. So at least the games will be easy to find. And the Bill Belichick effect is also bringing conference movement talks as the UNC is looking to leave the ACC for the SEC coming out. And it's a bold move, Cotton. That is a bold move. We have not played we haven't played one snap of football. And we're already looking to move to the SEC. Let's win an ACC title before we talk about let's dog walk the ACC, and then we'll talk about moving to the SEC and that being a somewhat viable option. Because as I see it now, basketball, yeah, they've got it on basketball. No ifs, ands, buts about that. And that would be some good competition coming in there for the SEC in the basketball world. But outside of that, I mean, let's win. Let's dog walk the ACC and then talk about joining the SEC. Because as much as we do shit on the SEC, football is different down there. So let's pump the brakes and win a few football games. Come on. Come on, man. Come on. You're killing me. And then, talked about it a little bit earlier. Media days going on. Curt Cignetti took the stage earlier this week and took a nice little shot at the SEC when asked about his schedule. Whoops, sorry. Sorry, but what was I saying? Oh yeah, Curt Cignetti took the stage, took a nice little shot at the SEC, saying, "Hey, we just kind of followed what they did and took a couple of easier games than their non-con." So shout out to them because the committee and college football has made it well known at this point that, listen, wins mean more. You're undefeated. That multiple undefeated teams then will really look at your strength of schedule. A team we really like will really look at your strength of schedule. If you're an SEC school, we'll just say you have a hard strength of schedule. But I appreciate Curt Cignetti already getting it started and having this blood feud with the SEC. As someone's got to take a stand. So shout out to Curt Cignetti for doing that. Excited for IU football. Excited. I think they're going to be, again, very good this year. Very, very good this year. So we shall see. MLB trade. I want to talk about that last because that's fun. Let's talk about something that's not too fun to talk about. WNBA All-Star Game happened last week. And they went ahead and they're going through, early CBA talks as their current CBA does expire October 31st of this year. So Halloween, the WNBA CBA will expire. They did sign a new TV deal. They are, finally getting fans in stands. Shout out to Caitlin Clark for that, obviously, and all the women because, their big thing is we want to get paid more. We want to, get what's fair, yada, yada, yada. We want a better split. That's fine. I get it. You know what I mean? I've been doing my job now for a full year. I want more money. Everyone wants more money to do their job. So I don't think anyone can really, bat an eye at, I want more money too. They come out of the All-Star game and they're wearing these, pay us what you owe us or pay us what we deserve, whatever the shirt was. Which then started a litany of just absolutely hilarious memes. Shout out to the internet last weekend, absolutely putting on a clinic of, let's think about this. Will this get memed? And it definitely got memed to hell. And I will say I don't get why people are angry about this at all. Like I said, what, you don't understand someone wanting more money. I mean, that's just, everyone wants more money to do their job. So sure, I'm fine with that. I get that. Then they start going into the numbers and this, that, the other. I get it. I get it. I get this league has never turned a profit. I get that they're not even going to turn a profit this year. I get that ticket prices always drop when Caitlin Clark's sitting down, and she's going to be out indefinitely trying to rehab another injury. And I gotta say, I'm on the player side here, and that might be a bold take, but at some point, the league as a whole needs to take responsibility. And that is something that neither the W or the NBA has done over the last couple of years. Damn near close to half a decade. I would damn near see a decade. And I kind of get the frustration, you know what I mean? The NBA is ran by the players. The NBA is the most friendly player league in the world. No ifs, ands, or buts. A superstar cries a little bit and wants to trade, he's going to get traded. Might not be right then and there, but he will get traded. He will not be with that team next season. You get what I'm saying? And they get these big-ass contracts. Again, I understand how money works and how business works. Okay, so let's not talk about that for a sec. But then you got the WNBA. Ran by the same people, yada, yada, yada. Subsidized, not ran by the same people, but same. I'm sure Adam Silver has final say on damn near anything that happens in the WNBA. League's expanding. That's good. Again, signing a new TV rights deal. That's good. Why are they expanding? Why are they getting a new TV rights deal? Why are et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Well, that is because of the players. Absolutely. Level of competition in the WNBA in general has risen. And yes, it is funny to, watch the guys that bet on the bricks, Angel Reese first shot brick every time. I love that shit. Yeah, but the competition, the level of play has risen in the WNBA. And at the end of the day, you can't argue that whatsoever. And it's not just Caitlin Clark, Sabrina Ionescu, Asia Wilson. To a point, Angel Reese on defense. You know what I mean? Paige Bucher's doing her thing. We've got, oh my God, what's her name? Why is it slipping me now? USC, what's her name? That one's going to bug me. So I'll figure that one out. But, this talent has been there, and they have come now to the WNBA, and they are starting to put more butts in seats. They're starting to put heads, put viewership, eyes on viewership. And it's good for the league. It's growing the league. I don't blame the players for wanting a bigger slice of that pie. With that being said, kind of hard to go to your boss then, when earnings call came out last week and they just announced that they, took a 50% dive, and then you're walking into the office like, yeah, hey boss, I need a raise. That is, and I totally get that aspect of it too. But at the end of the day, the league hasn't done shit for these players. They haven't. You know what I mean? We talk about the officiating around Caitlin Clark. It's not just Caitlin Clark. Stars around this league, not, what I mean? They all get ragdolled. It is very physical, and I get that. And you want that physicality, but still, there is a point, and there's a point when a foul needs to get called, and the officials need to be better. But the WNBA doesn't hold their officials accountable, and it is just a glaring difference between officiating crews in the NBA and WNBA. We give NBA crews shit all the time, but they call the egregious stuff. The WNBA does not. And that hurts the league. Their marketing team is awful. Their marketing team sucks ass. They really do. The media that they have around the WNBA absolutely sucks. The announcers and what they make them do, how they make them say everything, the way it's covered on ESPN, pregame shows, et cetera, it's awful, and it doesn't help the league. The only good thing that's been going for this league is the players. And that's what's going to keep putting butts in seats. Now, do I think by any thought that a strike is a good thing for them? No. No, I don't. Well, why do you say that, AJ? They got unrivaled at 3-on-3. Yeah, I get that. And maybe they'll get a couple other players to join, but it's not that deep at the end of the day. I think they get a little bit of a bump in money and the salary cap goes up. I think that is going to be there, but then owners are going to want more games. And that's always, and that's got to be the contention here, is they want more games. They don't want to give more money. I think that's the point here. And again, I don't have any inside source, but I would imagine that is kind of where they're at. Well, we want more games because we want another opportunity for Caitlin, to come and then, et cetera, et cetera. So it's fascinating, but they'll fuck it up somehow. Both sides will. This league is just a comedy of errors. It really is. And so we'll see how it plays out. I'm not thinking it's going to be pretty, and I'm not thinking it's going to play out well for either side at the end of the day. But I would definitely look for more games being added. No matter what happens, I think more games are getting added to this league. Why? Well, expansion, more money, et cetera, guys. Like, come on. That's where they're at. They're going to be, the league is going to ask for more games. The players want more money. And I really don't think that works in a lockout scenario for the players. But it's all good. We'll see. We shall see. Last thing I kind of want to touch on, MLB trade deadline coming up next Thursday, I believe, on the 31st of July. And a couple of moves have been made already as the Arizona Diamondbacks trade first baseman Josh Naylor to the Seattle Mariners for left-handed pitcher Braden Garcia and right-handed pitcher Ashton Izzy. So Naylor going over to the Mariners, and I like this move. I really do. I like Josh Naylor a lot. I thought he was going to be one of the first pieces to move if the Diamondbacks were going to be sellers at the deadline, and here he is getting moved to the Mariners. It works out well for both teams. It really does. Don't get me wrong. I've loved having Naylor in the lineup, love having him at first, but we need pitching right now. We need cheap pitching right now, and that is what the Mariners are able to provide for us, cheap pitching, so that we don't need to, get fucked here. But because we're close, you know what I mean? And I really don't think we're going to be making a lot more moves, especially with the signing the Yankees made earlier today. Good signing, like the fourth best, first baseman out there still. So they yankied that one. Maybe the D-backs are reportedly wanting a lot for Eugenio Suarez. They are listening on Ketel Marte, but that price they're just listening. They're not really interested. They're listening. They're just curious. So it's good for both squads. And the Mariners have been a couple of bats away from really making a run. This has been a very solid team for the last couple of years, a young team the last couple of years. Solid pitching staff, just hasn't had that pop in the lineup, that guy that you can turn to where you got that hope that, hey, he's probably going to hit a dinger here and put us up, or at least, get us closer. So I like the move for both. I like the move for both. First move of a lot of moves. I do believe that will be happening with the deadline. I just don't think it's going to be nearly as explosive as we're expecting. Not as many big names. So we will have to wait and see on that. But that is all I got today. Hey, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. Shout out again to our 534 incredible followers here on Rumble. Everyone watching here, YouTube and X. Y'all are the best. If you like what we're cooking, please hit those like buttons, hit the follow buttons. It does help us out a lot more than you know. But with all that being said, have an incredible Friday night. Have an incredible weekend. Good luck. God bless. I've been the Brofect One, AJ. I'll see you next time on Degenerate Takes.